Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. Honore, how are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm a little low on the sleep, but I'm
Yes.
good. Yeah, but I have my English breakfast tea ready. It's steeping. What's in your cup?
uh Irish breakfast
Irish
and
breakfast.
Bengal spice, of course.
Oh,
See that smile? There's a reason for that. Honore changed my tea drinking life forever one day. She said,
oh,
"Hey, would you like to try this?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And then I was like, "Okay, now I don't drink tea without Bengal spice in it." So
hmm. I didn't have time to add a Bengal spice tea bag to my tea. It was a grab and go kind of a situation, but I'll do that for my afternoon situations.
the afternoon sitch.
Yes. So I'm on a recorder. I help professionals
Yes.
to write, publish, and monetize their books. And
And I'm Lucas Marino. I help authors, nonfiction authors, create courses from their books. And it's what we do. These are the
yeah,
things that we do.
these are the things we do. We
And
make
we
it
also
sound
have a podcast.
easy. We have a podcast. We have the MasterCast. We have the Master Class. We have the Master Mind.
All the things.
All the things. And we write books
Books,
too. Yeah.
courses,
Yeah.
workshops.
Hmm.
Honore and I are even so bougie.
Oh.
We don't talk about this often. She's like, "What are you getting ready to say?"
I was like, oh boy, there we go.
So bougie, we even offer like exclusive like events for people that want to do work at retreats.
Yeah.
Like, you want to go to
VIP
a
days.
resort?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want
I
to write a
mean,
book?
only if that sounds fun. I wanted to show you something I got the other night. I
Oh.
was at a networking event and this guy gave me his metal business card.
Oh.
And I've decided that now I'm just going to go hands up. No. Show
Yeah.
me your book.
Show me your book.
Show me your book. Yeah,
Place your fingers on your head.
that's right. Hands behind your back. Oh wait, no wait. That's a different TV show. What are you reading these days, Lucas?
Oh
How's
man.
your week of reading been? Or has it?
It has. It's been
Okay.
there's got to be some science behind how many words can you fit in and get out of a head, like out of a brain in a certain period of
Mm,
time.
mm.
I don't know what that number is or what that quantity of words are, but I've been reading the Trackers fiction novel, which is an electromagnetic pulse thriller, post-apocalyptic type thriller. For those that
Okay.
aren't familiar with electromagnetic pulse, it is a type of weapon that can be used, and in this particular book, it is a high altitude nuclear explosion.
I was gonna say it's the thing that we don't want to have happen.
You do not want an EMP. Yeah, this would be a
Yeah.
very bad thing. Because it still fits under the whole nuclear attack umbrella.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's a thing. And then I've been listening to the third book in the Dead South series. I'm now in book 3,
Mhm. Okay.
which the first one was Dead South. The second one was Dead Lies. I think it's Dead Hope, I think is the third book. But I've got the whole like 8-book bundle in one big audiobook. So they're just
Oh,
rolling through. I'm not even aware by like title by title.
I have an
And
audiobook listening question for you.
oh, yes.
So when I listen to an audiobook, I find myself exercising longer,
Hmm.
driving slower. Do you do that? I'll like take my time cleaning something instead of like how fast can I do it? Does it simultaneous to listening does it alter your behavior?
Oh, yes. It does it in a different way though. So I find myself thinking more about the story and being in the story and a little less like focused on what I'm doing. So I have to be careful, like, because I listen a lot while I drive, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm driving and I'm like in the story. So I don't necessarily drive slower, and it doesn't like change the speed or like the routes or anything, but it changes what I'm thinking about while I'm driving. Cause otherwise my brain is like all up in the other things. And
Okay,
so,
fair.
but I do like get where I'm going and I'm like, wait, how did I get here?
Yeah, well, that was fast, right? That was fast. Yeah, I don't have a commute per se, right? We don't
Right,
have a commute.
exactly.
And I always have so many things that I want to do while I'm driving somewhere. I always have a list of people I want to reach out to. I always have a podcast I want to finish listening to or a book that I'm in. So I just
Exactly.
wonder. So I would love to know, so the people that are watching,
Mm.
do you listen to audiobooks and do they alter your behavior?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Also, like, do you prefer like, so when you think about audiobooks, not that I want to go on a big like diatribe about audiobooks, but it's one of the reasons I get more reading done. Like,
Oh, sure.
I'm choosing an audiobook over a podcast for several reasons because I love both. But with the audiobook, it gives me like another check off the TBR,
Mm,
like another like progress toward
I know.
reading something from someone I've been waiting to read,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep. Yep. All right.
especially
So
with
you
all the
started to
time.
say something. Sorry.
Now, as I say, especially with all the time I spend in the car, like shuttling the kids around.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, my teenage kids don't want to listen to me anyway. So like half the time I've got like the book playing on the stereo and my kids are like earbudded in. And if there was nothing playing or Tom Petty radio playing or
You're
like
gonna know.
whatever playing, they would
Yeah.
be on their earbuds just like doing their
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
might as well get a book done.
That's right. So you started to say something else. So you were going from book 3 of the Dead South series, and there must be other things you're reading. You can't possibly just be listening to one book and reading one book. That's
Madness.
yeah, that could not.
Karen says she's never listened to an audiobook.
Wow.
Karen, have you watched movies of books that were made? Because it took like sometimes I think that there's like if you love a book, you want to see the movie kind of thing. Like a natural relationship between those two different formats, but the audiobook exactly matches the book. So if you're the kind of person that like watches a movie and they get mad that like, I can't believe they changed that or did this or that. Now you don't have
Yeah.
to worry about that with an audiobook.
Yeah. You will get more done, like more walking in or more house chores done if you're listening to something. So whenever I have a house chore to do, I am more inclined to do it and do it sooner and do it better if I'm listening to an audiobook.
Right.
100%. 100%.
I mean, to answer your question about am I reading anything else? It's this week, no. And most weeks, yes. But this week, no, because I'm trying to write 2 other books. And my brain was like, stop looking at the words. Stop looking. Like, it was like,
Are you writing your nonfiction book?
No, I'm writing 2 fiction at the same time.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Which has been a little bit of a, like writing a nonfiction and a fiction would be way different than what I'm doing right now because I wouldn't have 2 plots, 2 sets of characters, 2 storylines, all the things. And I'm doing that based on like, I can't write in both books on the same day, but I can have like a start that day where I'm like, I'm writing in this story today.
I know other authors do it and I've asked them how, and they're like, well, they're just 2 different stories. You can tell the story about when you got engaged and you can tell the story about when you got married, and they're 2 different stories and you don't get confused. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting perspective. I love what Karen just said. She said, she answered your question. She said that happened with Dances with Wolves, the different ending totally. And she just dated herself. So.
Now, well, Dances with Wolves, you could watch that now, just like you could back in the, was it in the early 90s when that came out? I think it was.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think it was.
So you're reading 2 fiction books and writing 2 fiction books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool. I'm listening to a fiction book and I'm reading a fiction book, and they're 2 completely different. But I'm not having to keep track of anything really. someone else has handled
Right.
that. Yeah. And then
Now
I'm still in RA. I'm
oh, well,
still here.
yeah.
But
Talk to me about
my
that next year.
well, no, I'm on page 546. Well, the thing is it's lots and lots and lots of little chapters. It's very, very, very good. Yes. And
But
then
it's
of
a lot
course
of
I have
thinking too, right?
what, say again?
They're thinking chapters, right? Like you read and then you
Yes.
like need to consider
Yes.
for a bit.
Yes. I mean, we have to get to our topic soon, but just this is a yes or no question and we can discuss later. Do you know what an Odysseus contract is?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it later.
Okay. later in this episode or later like another
Well,
episode?
depends. It depends. It depends. It depends. We can come back to it. But we gotta
Gotcha.
talk about our topic.
You're all lit up though. This is like a cool thing. Now,
Yeah,
now
I'm all about it now. We are gonna have Odysseus contracts.
now is all right. I won't start unpacking.
Okay.
I'm gonna put my little lock back on my question box.
It's basically the ancient version of if you say you want to lose 35 pounds. And I did this to a client one time because she was like, I have this high school reunion and I need to lose weight. And you're my business coach. You got to help me. And I was like, well, I'm not a fitness trainer, but I can help get you there. So I went and got her a can of Fancy Feast cat food. And I said, I just want you to carry this around with you everywhere. And if you are tempted to eat bread or dessert or put something in your pie hole that is not in alignment with your goals, just remember that if you don't lose the weight before your reunion, you get to eat this. I will take you to lunch. I will have a delicious lunch and you will have Fancy Feast cat food. And she lost the weight. It's a contract that basically you engineer circumstances so that you succeed, so you cannot fail.
Gotcha.
In advance of something happening. So we'll talk about it later, but
that's pretty funny.
It's a very cool idea. And it's one of the chapters in this book. So, and then there's Renee. Hi, Renee.
Yeah, there's Renee.
I've been throwing her name around a lot because people are like, have this or have that. And I'm like, no, Renee and I are fasting.
You have been throwing her name around. Renee, that has actually been happening.
Yeah. I'm like, what? I can't tell Renee I'm fasting and then eat. That would be a lie. So I've been making cookies and going to trivia and not eating chips at trivia. Renee.
She writes back, woo.
Yeah. She's like, woo. Yeah. She's like, we're doing it. We're doing it. So anyway, also I was I'm pretty psyched when I put my pants on and they fit, right? So I was like, all right, so it's worth it. At the end of the day, present honoree is proud of past honoree. I know, gotta be accountable to someone. Yes.
Which is different than my situation right now where I brag to Tammy about how much weight I'm not losing. And by brag, I mean I cry.
Where's
Quietly.
The leave button? Okay, I'm gonna hit the leave button. There Oh my God. All right. Well, let's talk about our topic today. What's our topic today?
We are going to talk about getting clients by viewing what it means to be a good client, right? Like, so you have to understand your relationship with people in business and how you interact with people that you serve and who serve you and how that is all kind of related because, you talked about in a conversation you and I had this morning, you talked about referrals being such a huge driver of business for coaches and consultants and everything. But then some of those people just forget that every relationship is a potential referral, even the people you're hiring to do work for you. So anyways, that's kind of, it's important. And you and I've both also, and on the side before the episode had talked about good and bad experiences that we've had at serving people and, and also having agreements with people that were working on our projects and how they just didn't necessarily act the way they probably should with people that they're in a business relationship with.
Well, I think they forget and they think it's one-sided that they've paid. And so therefore they can do whatever they want and there are no follow-on repercussions. But really, what kind of brought this on was I was at a luncheon yesterday, and the guy who was facilitating the lunch was asking, where does your business come from?
Mm.
And I was in a room of 20 or so high-powered executives and professionals. And to a person, everyone was nodding when the first guy said, well, basically my business is by referral. All of my business comes to me through my relationships. And he then said, I get a lot of business from the people I work with who hire me. And I also give a lot of business to the people who hire me. And it caused me to think about the times that I have worked with someone like you, like Karen, right? Where the relationship has been so great when I've done the hiring, right? And it's been like, oh my gosh, this person did such a great job. I want to refer them. But then also being the service provider and having a client who was so awesome to work with. And I don't have one of Ali's books handy to hold up, but the book I did with Ali Hemyari that released earlier this week, Discipline, he was such an excellent client that I found myself going above and beyond and doing extra things that I normally charge a little or a lot for, because he was so great to look for. And then I can think of other instances where I'm still going to do a good job for someone because that's my level of integrity. But I definitely wouldn't pursue additional work, right, from that person. Or, alternatively, the way people have behaved that have hired me in the past, I kind of go, I now can't refer them. And so I'm a gateway drug, Lucas, right? I'm the person that's like, I'm circulating all over the place and I can refer people to all different types of service providers. So it was just making me think, like, what if when you're the client, you're not a great client, and then the person that's working for you thinks, well, I know people that could use that person's service, but I couldn't possibly refer them. And one of the things that I try to do as a client is say to the person that I'm working with, how can I be the best client possible for you? Like, what does a great client look like? So now we're working together. How can I make it awesome for you? And I said this to my accounting team a long time ago, and they said, well, give us access to your accounts, give us that special accounting login or bookkeeper login so that we can go in and fuss with things and keep everything on track for you. Be responsive, be nice to the receptionist, those sorts of things, right? And I was like, well, those aren't hard things, right? Pay your quarterly taxes. Right?
I don't want to.
Oh, did I just say something bad?
No, but it must be once a week I get taxed. It's part of the game.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to bring up the T word.
No.
But I think that part of being a person whose business is by referral and getting referrals is being that person who's so easy to work with that other people go, well, I'm going to, thanks for your money. And I'm also going to send business your way. I think it's very circuitous. And I just think that some people miss out on that opportunity by not being easy to work with. And every so often, and I've had it happen in EBM where people, are emotional about something, which is understandable. And instead of being logical about it, they're emotional about it, right? And so they take it out on me, they take out their situation on me, and then later either apologize or don't. But I have the awareness to understand that it's not about me. I didn't do anything, but it's interesting. It's interesting to watch. I'd love your perspective on it and anyone who is watching.
Yeah, you guys comment if you want to ask a question or weigh in on a point. I was pleasantly surprised and also not surprised, I think, when I left the service and realized, the whole relationship thing really just carries right on over. It's a professional thing. And I learned it in the military, very early on, that your reputation that you create is two-part. We used to teach technical aptitude and leadership were two of the greatest things that you kind of had to look at, with someone's ability to be a leader because of their rank, or also a great technician or a great engineer or a great ship driver or whatever their specialty was. So you had like two halves of your identity. You had your identity as a leader, an enlisted leader, or a commissioned officer, and you also had your identity as a technician or a specialist. And if you could put two great halves together, you were going to have a fantastic career, unless you gave yourself a reason not to. And it almost felt like in that situation, the system was designed to reward people that did that well. Like if you were a good person, you had great leadership potential, and you were also really good at what you did, you were just going to have a great career. Coming into the civilian sector, I just kept thinking like that because that's where my programming was. And I was kind of surprised to meet a more percentage of the workforce that wasn't necessarily aligned to being a good human to other people. And I thought initially that it was because they thought they could get away with it because there just wasn't a dependency on rank or any of that kind of stuff like you have in the military. Right? Because in the military, it's like, you're the commander. whether we like it or not,
Right, but at the end of the day, even if someone has the shoulder devices or the collar devices,
you might respect the person's rank.
the devices, but you don't always respect the person.
Exactly.
And it's easy to work hard for someone who has both rank and leadership qualities. And so I just jotted down a few things that I think are helpful. In addition to asking how you could be a great client, it's just to be great at what you do. And that kind of goes without saying. So just whatever it is that you do, be a nerd for what you do and be the person who knows all the things about everything you do. So just be excellent. And the second thing I wrote down was be gracious. I mean, nothing stresses me out more. I mean, I can say almost nothing. So it's probably in the top 5 of things that stress me out, that wake me up early and keep me up late. And that is a mistake. So in these books that I produce, yes. Okay. Or that someone on my team makes, or that someone on my team makes, because as the leader, it doesn't matter if it's a typo or a formatting error or, something that's incorrect. At the end of the day, if it's incorrect, everyone looks at me. Yeah.
You're accountable for the project.
My name's on it, or I'm in contract with the author. So if it's a private book that I don't talk about, it's like the author's coming back to me going, hey, there's an error on this page, which is very stressful. So I do everything in my power, everything humanly possible to make sure that it's perfect. And I'm already stressed. I don't need someone coming down on me. So with very little exception, my clients are awesome. And so they're like, oh, I'm just so glad it was caught and you were able to correct it. Thank you. And so being gracious is really helpful. And so I know that when I discover a mistake that someone made, I really try to, not only be gracious, but also then say, here's how to wrap arms around how to not have that happen again. Like here's because my famous 10 things that I do to never have a problem the second time. Right. It's like
burning sage.
Well, no, it's like, I actually will brainstorm, and I don't know if this is helpful for someone, but when I have a problem, I go, okay, well, what would be my problem? Let's go back to my thing with Renee. So if I am doing a fitness challenge with Renee, now I don't have a problem with Renee, but when we do these fitness challenges, like inevitably there are things I'm on the, yes, you can eat these list. And there's the things on the avoid these at all costs. Right. But if you don't have this Odysseus contract, right, or you don't put yourself in a position to where you can be successful, the chances are you're going to show up in a situation. Like if I go all day without eating because, and then I get to, let's say, trivia on Thursday night, and they come and they put the chips and the salsa in front of me, I will eat my weight in chips and salsa.
Yes.
Right. Because I haven't organized myself. So I have to then say, okay, so even if I have to go home and have a protein shake first, and then I have to tell everyone at the table if you see me eat a chip, I have to make a large donation to the political party, not of my choice. And I
That's an
have to
interesting
yes,
contract.
and I
That's an
have to do
interesting
100
contract.
burpees in the middle of the restaurant and right. I'm just being funny, but I have to kind of organize myself for success, or I have to not go, or I have to just actively like push it away. Cause once I start, like there is no such thing as I'm just going to have 5 chips and salsa. Like that is not even a real thing. So I will brainstorm 10 ways that I can not have that problem. So how can I go all day from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting and still eat my fitness goals? I can pack my food. I can have boiled eggs and almonds in the car, right? Like I can engineer things to be successful. So being gracious and understanding that most people, if you're stressed when someone discovers a mistake or something that you've missed, that they're probably as upset as you are, unless you're someone who just doesn't care. And then I don't know. I think that is like a sociopath.
That would just be one of those things where, I mean, it depends on, what we're talking about caring about. If you're worried about the priority and the goal, and you care about the right thing, you're gonna be fine, right? It's like, but to your point, if you don't care about those things, and particularly for your clients,
that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
We are not your people. If you're someone who's like, they're just clients, they're just money, and who cares if I make a mistake? That's not the thing.
Well, I would just like to say one thing about that. If that's your mentality, do not step into the premium services world.
Oh, for sure.
It is absolutely necessary. Like if you're worried about why that's not working for you, that's the way you roll.
Well, if you're wondering why you're not getting business by referral and people are not referring people to you, it's like, I actually have a new problem now, which is kind of a fun problem, is that it's, people think if you're an author, then you can talk to every author about every genre and every type of book.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to, or being asked to talk to, everyone whose relative or cousin or friend or person in their office wants to write a book, even if it's not transformational nonfiction, right? So I'm like, but historical, romance is not my jam, right? I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about selling more of those books. The fundamentals are there, but I don't know anything about that sort of thing. But here's the thing, is I've created this brand as being the book lady. And people don't distinguish between fiction and nonfiction. And some people don't even know what those two terms actually mean.
Right? Where to draw those lines.
They don't draw those lines, and they want to talk to me. So I will take that as a problem. And I try to always be gracious, even though time is finite and all the things. So, and so then also in a world of being positive and beneficial and kind and gracious, there are competitors. We all have competitors, and we all have those competitors who we think do a better job than others. And I think people miss out on an opportunity for referral business and getting more great clients by throwing their competitors under the bus. And I remember years ago, and it's still an audio program I listen to, but there's an audio program I listen to, and the woman who was speaking said, there are a lot of courses and lectures on this particular topic, and they're all very good. Here's what this one has that those programs don't. She didn't say, my program was better than those programs, right? I'm better than those people. Right. Those people are terrible, and throw them under the bus. She just was like, there's a lot out there and they're all good. And here's what I have that's different. And that really has always struck me. And so when there are other companies, and some of them I secretly do not like at all, bordering on don't like them at all. Right? But I don't ever say that. I'll just say that's an option. That's an option that you have. But here's why I choose this. Here's why this is the hill I'm on. This is where I planted my flag and why. And here's what makes me different than those other service providers. And then there's more than enough business for everybody. It has gotten back to me that there is someone who says, oh, I do what Honoré does, only better and cheaper. And what that person is missing is the opportunity for me to say, I actually charge a lot more than you do, as opposed to you're cheaper than me, because I don't like that particular C word.
Right.
There's an opportunity for me to refer business, but now that opportunity for that person is gone because one of those things is factual and the other one just isn't. But I'm always looking for a place to send people if they can't afford me, because they can't afford, not everyone can afford me, not everyone can afford you. So it's really nice to say, well, that's not something that I can help you with, but I have someone that I would trust to send you to. So that, that space is open. Because it got back to me that this person was talking smack about me, which is, there's a phrase that we learned as kids, never cut off your nose to spite your face. So there's that whole thing of saying, I'm going to do the best I can. Put up that comment, Lucas. Put up that comment. That's funny.
There you go.
There's something to be said for being gracious about people, even if you don't like what they're doing or they're not particularly great at what they do, not throwing them under the bus, just saying, well, I think there's another option, or I wouldn't necessarily choose that option if I were you, something like that. There's a way to deflect without being mean or rude. And so don't cut off your nose to spite your face, and don't try. I would never, ever, throw someone under the bus like that, especially publicly. Right. And I was sitting with a woman yesterday who is in the process of publishing her book, and she's using a company to publish her book. And she said, they've been really great. And she starts to tell me what they've charged her and what they're giving her for what she's being charged for. And it was several $1,000s to make sure that she was a #1 bestseller on Amazon in 3 categories. And I was like, that is worth exactly $0. You should not have been charged several $1,000s for that. And I'm like, but I'm really glad that you've had a positive experience with them. And she's like, but what would you do? What would you see? What do you see? What do you see? And I was like, well, if it were me, there are just a few things that I would do. So it's not too late. You haven't actually published, but if you want to just go ahead and put it up there, go ahead. Most people are not going to look at it through my lens. And then we can, see if working together on a different project or turning this project into a different project later would be helpful. But I have very strong feelings about the organization that she hired, and I think she's being taken advantage of. And she just didn't know any better. She said, I just had no idea, because she came to me through a referral. So one of my very close friends brought her to me. And so we had this very frank conversation, and I was still very hesitant to say something that even was remotely negative, because I didn't want to make her feel bad for maybe making a choice that wasn't as effective as it could have been. And also, I don't want her to go back and say, well, I talked to this person and they said, you were terrible and you overcharged me and I, wasted my money, because I didn't say any of those things. Right. So just being very careful, because at the end of the day, you want people to either think that you love them or that you're neutral about them, not that you're talking smack about them. Because if they'll say it, if they'll say it to you, then they'll say it about you, right? That's kind of this, the way that the world works. And so just always have nice things to say and always be very positive about other people in the marketplace. And I met somebody else who said, I talked to this other company, and I said, I actually learned about them because they published someone else's book, and I went and looked them up, but I don't know anything about them. And I've thought about reaching out, but I want to see this guy's book first, because they could be an option for me to send additional work to. So all of that to say is that I think there's an effective way to move about the world and to talk about other people and other businesses in order to get those great clients being referred to you. And a referred client is the best thing. I went to Ali's book party, and all he did was say to people, don't talk to anybody else. Just hire Honoré. Just don't talk to anybody. She was great. Right. And that his word is worth 1,000 one-on-one conversations of me saying, I'm good at what I do. Referral business
Yep.
is the absolute best type of business to get. And so if you want to get more great clients, not only do you want to be a great client, you just want to be a great human in the world and moving about the world, because otherwise business that could have been sent to you just won't be. And there's that mafia thing, right? A friend of his or a friend of ours, right? And all it takes is for someone to go, I don't know. For someone to go from convicted, like, oh, I was going to hire him, and then Honore said no. Or
and it doesn't have to be because you can't produce the product, right? Like, and that's to your point. Right. Like, it could be just because you're not an enjoyable person to work with, or you're not good to other people. So like when you interact with clients and you interact with people that you serve, they see how you treat other people. It's not just how you treat them when they're paying you. It's how you treat people, period. Right.
That's right.
And they hear you talk about people in your market, and they hear you talk about people that and they may know and like and trust those people, and you don't even know that, That's so right. To your point, I mean, like, don't, the negative talk almost never serves you properly.
It just makes you look bad, right?
Yep.
I think when you talk smack about someone else, and my only exception to that is if I have firsthand knowledge of someone who is not kind, I will warn my close people.
Right. And you're still professional about that.
I do my best.
You're very good about that.
I do my best.
Because I think that there's something to be said about the how and not just the what, right? So like, if you're going to use your experience, positive or negative experience, as feedback for someone else who may be considering engaging with that, and it could be the client, it could be someone is considering bringing on someone as a client. You've worked with them as a client, and you're like, let me tell you a little bit about my experience, but you can judge for yourself. It's very good to kind of keep the lens of professionalism in place, because that person you're talking to really appreciates that when it is professional and it's not just kind of a throwing all the stuff at the wall. And it helps them think clearly too, because the more emotional that feedback is, the less clear that person can sometimes be about digesting what you're telling them. So if it's very logical, professional based feedback, they're like, oh, like I can see the high points here in what you're saying, and that wouldn't work for me. Or it may, because you've, I mean, when I was talking about the two different sides of a person, there were times when you had an outstanding relationship with somebody that other people just never got to that point with them. And they've got a big question mark about like, maybe I would get along with that person, or maybe I wouldn't. And maybe you haven't gotten far enough to be able to determine that yet. But the last thing you want to do is pass along something that you heard from someone secondhand, or speak about a very inconsequential thing, and let that be the thing that sinks your own reputation based off of what you're, giving someone else for guidance.
It's hard to do the third party. I heard this person gave bad service kind of thing. There's actually a situation locally here where there are two people I know, and they've split up, they've gone their separate ways. And one person has run all over, having all the conversations, all of the terrible person. And the other person has been zipit.com.
Mm-hmm.
And
other people see it.
Other people see it. You kind of go, okay, so, one person has been thrown under the bus repeatedly, seems to be doing fine, and the other person is out there running around throwing him under the bus. And I just go, that's so interesting. I actually, years ago, made friends with someone who worked with someone I knew, but not very well. And fast forward a few years later, after they had thrown them under the bus, like a lot, like had like a pet name for them, had a ringtone for them. Like, it was just like they were holding on to that rack and hoping that person died, or drinking that poison and expecting. So I end up on a Zoom with this person who's been thrown under the bus. And I was asked the question, how do you know that other guy? And I was like, well, the only way I got to that other guy was through this person who had been throwing him under the bus. So I very tentatively said, well, we were introduced by this person. And he said, I love that person. That is, oh my gosh, we used to work together. And I don't know if it was total horse pucky or not. Right?
What?
Maybe that was just his policy, that it was like, well, I'm trying to use PG.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever heard that. That's great.
But you know what it is? Instantly.
I got a good idea.
Yeah. So I don't know if he was like flat out lying or what, but it was like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to them in a long time. How are they doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't talked to them in a long time either, but that's how I got connected to this other person who I really, 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 really like. And they're really good friends. And so anyway, it was just very interesting how there was a lot of energy spent from one person going, and the other person was like, oh my gosh, totally amazing. And I instantly adopted that. Oh my gosh, that person's amazing. I just I try to say something nice or I try to say nothing unless there's an application that makes sense for me to say it. But you said something that I had actually written down. I wrote down emotionless or stoic, right? And like if you're giving an emotional, like, oh, super mad, it's like when someone's emotional, they're not able to be logical. That part of the brain is turned off. So until I was one of my very best friends, we were sitting next to each other yesterday and we were talking about disciplining kids. And she was saying that when her kids were young, she would make them go write essays. Because she said, I don't want to punish them while I'm emotional. Because if they do something that really upsets me, if I punish them, I'm going to be more harsh than maybe the situation warrants with a little bit of time. And so then they were like, can we come out of our room, mommy? And she's like, it is not time.
Trust me, bro. You want to stay in there.
And then it was, can daddy give our punishment? Because you seem a little more intense. And she's like, no, go back to your room and write another essay.
Yes.
I thought that was fantastic. But the whole point is leave the emotion out of it. Try to take the emotion out of it because, and I love this, Ryan Serhant, someday I hope we do a book together if you ever see this video. But one of the things that he says is when he's having a really bad, horrible, terrible, awful day, he writes a note 30 days forward about that thing that was really upsetting to him. And is like, in 30 days, how do you feel about it? And it's like, most of the time, I don't even remember. It's like, oh yeah, that did happen. I thought that was a very interesting perspective. So it's like, if it won't matter in 30 days or even 60 days or 90 days, and in 5 years, you will have completely forgotten about it. Maybe it doesn't require as much emotion. So just something, just things that go on in my head. You're welcome.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny when you think about how much this stuff is prevalent in everything you do, but we just don't think about it in this context. It's like kind of like when you go to eat lunch with somebody and they treat the waiter like trash. You're like, I don't want to be associated with someone that treats I was a waiter, Yeah. Don't do that,
Right. And that person's on their feet working really hard. And chances are, if you're eating in that restaurant and you can afford to eat in that restaurant, like the thing that would be really helpful is for you to be gracious and a great tipper.
Yeah. I mean, because, if they treat people like that just because of who they think they are or whatever they think of that other person's position, then, it's like, well, where's the line with how you're going to be as a client or how you're going to treat clients? I'm hesitant to refer somebody or even to hire somebody that treats anyone that they view as lesser social status than them that kind of way, because inevitably I might be viewed that way, or the person I refer to them might be viewed that way. And they're going to give them even if they're not rude, they might just give them a very, like, they don't meet the mark on what type of person you'd want that person working with or who you'd want to work with.
Well, there's something to be said for being really nice to the people that serve you, because they go above and beyond. And I have to say, sometimes I've been famous for saying, I'm not famous for anything, but I have famously said, there's no publishing emergencies until there are publishing emergencies.
Right? You'll know them when they happen.
Yeah, you'll know when they happen.
You don't have to think about it.
And having a team that I can text, call, Voxer, email, and get a response right away when other people are like, I'm booked, I'm busy, right? They'll like stay up late or get up early and fix something and work on something, because I'm always aware that I cannot do what I do without my team.
Right.
And, when I work with a ghostwriter, and Byron and I were talking about this, like, I've ghostwritten books. Can I do it? Yes. Is it my superpower? Not particularly. So I know that one of the heavy lifts of the books that I produce is the ghostwriter. The ghostwriter has to be the right temperament. I'm talking about you, Kent. They have to be the right temperament. They have to be the right, they have to be responsive. They have to be a great writer. They have to be flexible because my clients are busy. They have to be intuitive. They have to be kind. They have to keep secrets, right? They have to kind of hear all the things sometimes and be a vault. All of that is very, very important. And they're the first stop on the book train after I've engaged the client. Mm-hmm. So if the ghostwriter isn't great, and then what if the project is delayed for some reason? So then I'm talking to Karen, right? I'm talking to my editorial team and Jen, and, the copywriter, and saying, okay, I have a book coming and I think this is when it's coming and this is when I'm booking you. But then I can say, back to the bus again, the wheels came off the bus. The train made an extra stop. I need you to be flexible with those dates, which is not traditional in publishing, right? It's like you commit to a date, your book comes on that date. And most of the time that happens, but sometimes it doesn't. And I know that even if I was providing all the business in the world and I was continuing to send clients, if I was really difficult to work with and, wasn't fast to pay and all the things, that they would be like, well, you missed your deadline. You put down the 50% deposit, and my contract says if you don't get it in the book in on time, then no soup for you. Come back 1 year and I'll fit you in later, which then is terrible for the client. But I'm able to provide a bespoke service in a very customized way because I have this team. And then what's wonderful is they're referring business back to me. So my business is 100% by referral or in relationship. And, I pay referral fees for that very reason, because I don't place ads. I'm not, sponsoring events and things like that, because I have a boutique bespoke book publishing part of my business. And I pay referral fees because that's my way of getting more great clients. Also, very few people say, no, keep that 4 and 5 figure check on Ray. It's fine. Some people just say, no, that's, a $5,000 check. That's really cute. Right. But that group of people is very small. Some of them are my clients, but that group of people is very small. So anyway, all of that to say is, I think we've kind of figured out that it's a figure 8. Like, if you want to get great clients, you got to be a great client. If you want to get great, if you want to work with great humans, you have to be a great human to work with, because there are very few people. There's a whole movie, The Devil Wears Prada, right? There are very few people that can be that difficult to work with and still have people that will tolerate that and employ you, because there's always someone who is as good or almost as good, but easier and better to work with. And they're going to get all the business.
Yeah, eventually. Yep. So word will get out, Hey guys, if we have like 9 minutes left in the broadcast. So if you guys want to drop any questions, make any comments, anything, please throw them in the chat and we'll get right to them.
These are all Karen. I think these are all Karen. Always be respectful and nice. You never know who is listening, or it could be Jen.
Jen too. Mm-hmm.
And being flexible is just good service. People want to use you again because you were easy to work with. That is for sure. That is something that is fun for me to hear from my clients. They're like, I became an author and it was just so easy. And I'm like, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very easy for everyone.
It was easy for everyone. It was super simple and easy. But that's the goal, is for if there are any problems, they never know about it. I mean, I did something for one of my clients and he was like, well, how long did it take you to do that? I was like, it was 2 full days. And he was like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, 2 full days. Weren't you on vacation? Yes. Yes, I was.
I
Oh
thought I
my gosh,
was.
thank you so much. I thought I was on vacation. I really wasn't. I was really working on the project.
Yeah.
But
Um,
ultimately, when someone's great, it doesn't matter, right? Because it's like
yeah, no,
the
you're happy to do that, to
I'm
help
happy.
someone that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, you're almost
I
never
may or may not
happy.
have reviewed a few books that weren't from
Yeah.
paying clients on occasion.
Yeah. It, you know, I I can't help but recognize that the people who don't view themselves as having that kind of relationship with their own clients, or even with people that they've outsourced or whatever, they're literally, it's like they don't recognize that the net that they're casting for referral work is so much bigger than they
Mhm.
think it is. They think they only cast it in one direction, when
Yeah.
in reality you're like cast it all the way around the side of the boat um when you have that general approach to dealing with and working with contracts and opportunities, that
Um,
every relationship's an opportunity. Like everything just gets better. um you and I were talking to somebody last at the end of last year in EBM, and I can't remember exactly who I was talking with, but I mentioned that I didn't put out advertisements, and I
yeah.
wasn't soliciting for work,
Yeah.
and I got this surprised look. And I said, yeah, almost all of my service work is
Yeah.
directly referred, and it's coming from multiple people, former
Yeah.
clients, people that have maybe watched videos like this, people that know people. But almost every single time that alignment has been immediate and
Yep.
instantly fortuitous, it's been because they were referred by someone that I knew. And
Yep.
almost half the time it was someone who actually didn't hire me to do anything for them.
Mm.
Right? It would have been someone that I worked with because I was needing their services, or I needed their advice, or I wanted to work with them, and they were great to me, and I returned that favor. And that if something didn't go well, I wasn't like a tyrant or a maniac about it. And
Right. Right. That was my point, is like the person
mhm,
who was serving you was probably already stressed out enough, and they didn't need you to go,
yeah,
"Are you dumb or stupid? How could you have missed that?" Right?
yeah. And I've been involved in projects where I am in charge of a project and I have to bring on other trusted people to serve my client.
Yes,
And
every
when
day.
I bring them in, I'm like, let me talk to you about what this project. That's where the door opens to the conversations about how easy is it to work with this client? What kind of things do we have to be a little bit more sensitive to on this project versus maybe other projects? And inevitably, that person, you're exposing your own network, people you know, like, and trust, and you want to work with, to the type of client you've agreed to take on. And you need to be very cognizant of that when you take on clients, because it can impact whether those people want to work with you or anymore or not. Every
Yep.
time you call them and say, hey, I might have a project for you to join me on, are they excited or are they hesitant when they get that
Right.
call?
Right.
You know?
Well, and that goes back to, or comes down to money consciousness, or right. So it's like,
Sure.
well, I really need the money, so I'm going to put up with the nonsense. But people will only do that so far.
And I actually have had someone, and I talked to you about this last year, that I used to refer very high praise until they literally stole money from me and a client, like
Oh,
in the same
I
project.
know. I know.
I can never refer that person ever again. That is such a
No.
blatant, example. But I've had instances where I've worked with partners
Yep.
and they've been just as unreferable in the future, and they never stole a dollar. They just didn't know how to behave, or they didn't know how to respect the opportunity that you brought them, or whatever the case is. It's
Yeah.
just, we look at the very clear, egregious examples and go, oh, well, clearly if someone steals
Stole
money,
money, was rude, threw a temper
yes,
tantrum.
clearly
Right.
you can't hire that person again. But what about the person that like yelled at one of my clients? I'm like, I can't have that.
Right. Right.
That's, you might as
Yeah.
well have stolen money from us.
Yeah.
It's going to have the same
Yeah.
outcome.
Yeah.
Maybe not in
And
court,
vice
but
versa. And vice versa.
yeah,
You can't be mean to my team.
nope, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So
You're mean to my
what a what a
team.
what a
Yeah.
topic. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, it's counter to what probably some people came to hear, like, okay, I want to get into more business. How do I do it? It's like, well, be awesome.
Yeah,
Be
treat
gracious.
Treat people
Treat
well.
everyone the way you want to be treated.
Yep.
You know, give people grace and gratitude. Like, just always be that's one of the things Ali said in his book. It's like, always thank people for the opportunity to have them as a client, but also thank the people you hire for the opportunity to be their client.
Mm-hmm. And ironically, if you can't get any of this right, none of the other stuff you do is going to matter. Like all the ads you run, all the emails you send, all that stuff, it'll be an uphill climb if you don't get this right.
Yeah. I spoke to someone's mom yesterday. She writes the historical fiction, right? Just someone who I know socially was like my mother-in-law, right? And, oh, I just love my daughter-in-law. I got your email. Your email's so great. You know, I couldn't help her at all. And I was like, well, but I have a couple of fiction authors that I think are the bomb diggity. Go follow them because they are doing a lot of things right. And I got this super nice email. Like, thank you so much for taking the time. I think we were on the phone for 11 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, hi, I'm calling because
my mom told me to.
Yeah, your daughter-in-law said that you needed some help with something. How can I help you? I'm not sure I can help you, but let me give you some pointers. I can't do that for everyone. Right? But in certain circumstances, I try to do that because the number one way people find out about your book is through referral or recommendation. The number one way people find out about you and your business is through referral and recommendation. And the number one way to lose business and to lose sales is to be a jerk. So simple math, Lucas. I'm not a math person, as you know.
As soon as you start putting minuses, start putting minuses in the equation instead of pluses, it takes away.
Yeah. Has money, ideal client profile, not a nice person, not a client.
Yep. Not a client.
Almost has the right amount of money, ideal client profile, future client.
Yeah. You'll make it work.
Yeah.
You and your math.
Honoré math.
Well, guys, if you want to learn more honoré math, look at that segue. You should check out the Author Success Bundle.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah,
Which also has math, because if you buy the bundle, you save on the courses that are included with a discount, which is math. Yeah.
It is math.
Yeah. You know what? I'm a writer, so I don't have to do math.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way this, this is why we can do these things, people. If we didn't have the opportunity to meet all these great people in our worlds and work with great people and be served by great people, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. We wouldn't be able to, share resources with you, share great things with you. I mean, it just wouldn't be happening.
I wouldn't be an entrepreneur with no college education. I would be a bricklayer with no college education.
Hey, if you're a good bricklayer, you can make some good money.
I know. All right.
You could do the Parade of Homes fireplaces, the chimneys. That's what I learned growing up. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
From a guy who couldn't read a ruler.
All right.
He was the Parade of Homes chimney builder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I want to go look it up now.
Nicest dude I ever worked on a construction site with. Thanks, Pops.
I thought you were going to say it was your dad.
No, but he made me work with these people to get a
But I knew your dad could read a ruler, so I was confused for a second.
Yes, he's very good with rulers.
Yeah,
he's got them in his dreams.
I love it.
All right, well, Honoré, thank you so much for again sharing your experience with us, and a great topic that you whipped up to share with everybody. So awesomeness, guys. We are here every Thursday, 11 Eastern, 10 Central.
We are.
You guys should definitely come back. Check out our YouTube channel if you're looking for a repository of all the previous lives or our pre-recorded podcasts. Yes, we do have literally over 100 videos, very helpful content on everything from courses to masterminds to books to business to everything.
Yeah.
Some of those include special guests that do great things that are related to those topics that we don't specialize in. So,
That's right.
go check out the empirebuildersmasterclass.com if you want to learn a little bit about all the courses we talk about. So,
yeah.
All right. Am I forgetting anything?
No.
That's it.
No, I don't think so. We'll be here next week. We'll have another great topic. Topics are encouraged. Comments are encouraged. Liking, following, and sharing is encouraged. And just thank you. Thank you to everyone who is watching. Thank you to everyone who will watch. And we will see you next time.